Hello, today we are going to be making a Fallout 4 Pip-Boy type of image like you would see on the Pip-Boy 3000 in Fallout 4. Sounds redundant. But to start things off, we're going to be making the resolution 1920 by 1080. Your standard desktop monitor size, maybe if you want to make a wallpaper or something, but otherwise you can just change the resolution to your liking. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take one of the assets of the Vault Boy, not the Pip-Boy. So I have an Adobe Illustrator file, and I have it for the reason that you can scale a vector image, that's what Illustrator uses, as much as you want without having to worry about it getting all nasty looking, pixelated. So I'm going to have it at 5000 just to keep it safe. Probably a bit overkill for this 1920 by 1080 image, but who cares. So what we're going to do is we're going to select all, Control A, and copy it with Control C. Then we're going to go over to this tab and Control V. Now what I like to do is have a non-destructive image. So what I usually do is convert things to smart objects. It's a very handy tool and you should get used to using it. So now that I converted this into a smart object, I'm gonna hit V and notice how my transform controls are on. So if you're new to Photoshop, I usually recommend showing transform controls. It's very helpful. So now that I have this, I'm gonna hold Shift and drag it down. You can also hold Alt to quicken it. It shortens it. It shrinks it from the anchor point, or does whatever you're doing from the anchor point, which is usually the center of the image, and is quite faster than just shrinking it without holding Alt and doing it from the anchor point. So it's not how big I want it, so I'm going to hold Shift and Alt again, size it up from the corners, and there we have our base part. Now that we have him in there, we're going to be making him to a threshold and turning him into green. So first we're going to use one of my actions. I'll be providing this action in the link in the description. So let's play through the action. It's a threshold, your usual threshold, but there's one thing that I changed. So when I click OK here, you'll notice that it gets softer. And I did this for it to look better. It's what I usually like out of a threshold and wish it was like in Photoshop, but it works. It works fine. And it makes everything look less choppy, blocky. Minecraft. So next thing that we're gonna do is put on this hue saturation and click on colorize. Very important that you do this. And also one important thing, if you don't want like anything in the way, is hide your base image of the Vault Boy. So when I hit colorize, I'm gonna go up to the green, turn down the colors, and turn up the saturation. You might notice that it's affecting every part of the image, and maybe that's not desired or what you want. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go here, not here, here, and create a clipping mask. The clipping mask affects the layer directly below it, and is very useful if you want to have very select layers affected. There's also a shortcut, which I tend to use more than the clipping mask on this part itself, and it's Control Alt G. It releases clipping mask and attaches them again, so it's a nice shortcut to learn. Next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hide the black parts, because if you notice on the Pip-Boy, you don't really have outlines of things on there in black. So in order to get rid of that, we're gonna double click to the left right here, and this part should pop up. Next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drag. You see how it splits apart? Usually if you don't hold Alt, it just brings those two together, and it makes it kind of like a threshold, all blocky, choppy, not that good looking. But if you grab one part of it and hold Alt, it makes it better. So just trying to get it on spot, and I think this is good enough. Now that we have him there, we're gonna make the background the darker green, the one that you usually see. So go here, go to colorize, always remember the colorize, turn up the saturation, and turn down your lightness by a ton. Usually I also turn down the saturation. I feel is a bit overwhelming sometimes. So just turn it down, see to what I like, and there we have that. Next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna hold shift and group these two together. You can either group them or make a smart object. I tend to make smart objects because I find it more cleaner. So now that we have that, you notice that it turns to thing automatically green. It's like kind of like a screenshot of what you have going on here, but you can open it again if you double click on the thumbnail, and you can just make your further changes from there. So for the next part, we're going to be adding scan lines like you see on the Pip-Boy. So to do that, we're going to hit a new layer, hit G for our paint bucket tool, and just paint it white. It doesn't matter what color you're going to do it, because what really matters is going to your effects and layer effects and doing a pattern overlay. Photoshop has a wonderful set of presets, and the one we're going to be using is this one. It does lines across, which is, if you notice, kind of look like scan lines. So once we have that, we're going to be clicking OK, and we have that there. Now you may say, oh, now how are we going to get rid of the white? You can't just do a simple multiply, because the layer effects overtake the properties of the layer itself. So what we're going to do is convert it to a smart object. Who would have guessed? You can tell that I love smart objects a lot by this. But next thing we're going to do is just turn it to a smart object, make it into a multiply. Black may look like it's a bit too much on here, so I'm going to turn down the opacity maybe to like a 26, something nice along there. And here's the base part. To make it more realistic, we are going to take this image and put an outer glow on it. Then what I'm going to do by holding space and alt is zoom in and take this, click here, and get our color. Now we have our color. You may notice that the guy has a slight glow around him. We want to make that glow more pronounced, so we're going to be turning up the opacity more, maybe spreading out the size, and have that there. Usually, this is a matter of preference of mine, but like on CRTs, if something's really bright, you might not tend to see scan lines on there, or it might overtake, stuff like that. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to hit Control, or hold Control, and click on the thumbnail of this image. What it's going to do is it's going to select it and all the parts that are filled in. If it's transparent, it won't select it. Now, we're going to head over to my wand. The wand isn't really going to do anything. It's more of a property that's inside the wand called the Refine Edge. When I click on that, I'm going to shift the edge backwards and feather it a lot. Shift the edge a lot more. Maybe feather it a lot more. Let's see, would a radius work? Yeah, let's add that there. Now we have that. You may notice this is here. Now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to give it the fact that the glow is overtaking the scan lines. So when we go up here, we're going to make this into a layer mask. Click on the layer mask tool, and it does opposite of what we really want it to do. So in order to invert the mask, you just do a Control I for invert, and it could look better. But there's a good thing we can change that due to layer mask having the same effect as the magic wand, the Refine Edge. All you have to do is just go Mask Edge. Let's up the Shift Edge, feather a lot more, and there we go. We have that done. The font that Bethesda uses in their game for options in Fallout 4 is ShareTech Mono Regular. You can find this online for free. I would put the link in the description for it, but I can't quite find it. But you can add whatever text you want, and let's make this smaller. Whoops. Now that we have this here, looks a bit odd to me for some reason. I don't know. But I'm gonna be adding a hue saturation, right clicking, going through all the basic steps that you did for your Vault Boy over here. So when we do that, we're gonna hit colorize, darken it, go into our lights, saturate it a lot more, maybe darken it a bit more, or lighten it. It's all a matter of preference, isn't it, in the end? But now that we have that, we can either make it a smart object or group together. I'm just going to be making a smart object because I like working with those better. We're going to be moving it to here, like he's holding it in his hand or something. And I know it's Pip-Boy 300 that I have here, not Pip-Boy 3000, just an error on my account. So I'll just go back into here, double click that, and hit the X or 0 if you're all pretty. Can't find the word for it. Accurate on that. I don't know. I'm here to teach tutorials, not give words. But on to the next part here. Well, actually, all you can do is right click on your layer effects and click copy layer style. And all you have to do is just go here, paste the layer style, and it should appear there. It's not to the degree I wanted it to, so we'll change it up a bit. Change its opacity, give it maybe a smaller spread. Because, bigger spread, the more spread out it will be, well, not spread size, but it'll dissipate, it'll go away basically. So now that I have that, it looks done. Besides the fact that it's over my scan lines and the scan lines overtake it. So, back to the simple stuff. In order to add new stuff to your layer mask, all you have to do really is click on the layer mask itself and have a color of either black or white, and you can just like either go on with a brush, which I'm not going to be doing. I'm just showing you how to do it. It's always black or white. White means that it's going to show, black means that it's going to hide it. But let's go into my magic wand over here. I click W for that. I am a huge user of shortcuts. Without shortcuts, I am nothing. But let's feather the edge a lot. Maybe shrink it, feather it a lot more. Add it, shrink it, feather less, feather more. See, it's just hard to get everything just so precise. But now we have that, I'm going to be using a technique that I like to call, well, I don't call it anything. I just use it to block out things real quick, because the paint bucket tool is too tedious to do like all these small gaps, and even if I had contiguous off, it isn't really perfect. So what I like doing, like it's basically the quick paint bucket, is I like having the gradient black to white and just going all the way down to the bottom, and there it is. You just have to drag and go. Except I didn't have anything in selection. It's always important to have things in selection because you might end up coloring in what you don't want. But that's the gist of how you make a Pip-Boy type of image. You can also go fancy, add a vignette. I'll be doing a very simple one. Just add a white background, go into your filters, go into camera raw filter. Then once we're in here, I can just go into the lengths correction and do it in vignette. You can change the midpoint to how you want. Just do that. Make it a multiply layer. And you can tell a slight difference in how things are. You might want to take your mask from the original piece or use a blend diff. I'm just kind of messing around at this point. Let's see. Underlying layers. If it's on the lighter end of the spectrum, it will be hidden. That's how it works. So now that I have that, I'm all wrapped up here. I'll be providing like some description for the Vault Boy and the Smooth Threshold action that I have here. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it.